Hi, Jane, and welcome to Health Effects. Lovely to have you here.
Thanks, I'm delighted to be here.
If you could please let us know a little bit about your background.
Sure, I'm an adjunct professor at Mailman School of Public Health, and I'm also the Director of Student Wellness at CUMC.
So let's just jump right into it. What is the role of fear in public health?
There's a long history of fear in public health. I would say some of it good, some of it not so good. In general, there's been periods where we've used lots of fear in public health, and then it sort of went to like, no, fear is terrible, we should never use it, so we shouldn't use it at all. And now I think they've come back to it's good in very limited cases with specific things.
So what are those specific things that a fear-based campaign needs?
So the thing about fear is when you instill fear in people, you have to have a remedy that actually relinquishes the fear in them. So you can't say like, if you do this, you're gonna die, and the remedy is nothing.
Never going outside.
Never going outside, right?
No sex ever.
Exactly. So
Okay,
those are, those seem like a little unrealistic. And so if you're going to have fear, you want to be able to relinquish it. So, and the other thing I would say is that you need a very specific audience. You need to know your audience, because some people do not respond well to fear at all. Like personally, scary movies scare me. So I don't watch them.
You can't
I would
avoid
not be a
ghosts.
good person for a fear campaign.
How are you going to avoid like the ghost in your basement? Like,
Exactly. It's like, don't go into the basement. I'm the person who doesn't go.
Okay.
But if you're the person who does go, like fear might work for you.
Okay. So I know we were talking about like audience, right? So as millennials, we're exposed to so much crap just like on a daily basis. How does fear slip by when there's so much that we're bombarded with?
Yeah. It's interesting because I think there's a generational difference. Sometimes the people who make the fear campaigns are of a different generation than the people they intend to have be the recipients of the fear campaigns. And so I would say that as millennials or even the younger generations, what are they, the YXs or the AAs? I like to call them.
batteries.
Because I think we've got Z already, so we're up to AA.
Okay.
And so they're bombarded with so much imagery and so much disturbing imagery of war and death and destruction and racism and homophobia. And so that sometimes the impact of that kind of campaign on someone who might be so exposed might not be as profound.
And then in that case, you kind of, right, if I'm hearing you, it sounds like instead of, like, yes, you're going to get really scared, but on top of that, you're going to have this stigma towards, like, say, gay people or people who are obese.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes in fear campaigns, they vilify the person versus the behavior. And I think that's something to be really careful of when you're doing that kind of communication campaign. So, for example, a lot of ads around obesity or fear of trying to instill, let's say, fear of obesity, will have images of obese people without heads. So you just kind of see their stomachs or their bodies, and it sort of creates this like otherness around it, and I think makes it easier or more accessible for people to stigmatize that kind of body.
Yeah, and then there's like no human connection there. It's just literally the condition, like raw and scientific, as opposed to someone who has emotions and like.
Right, and the complexity of what causes obesity gets lost in that sort of like, you will be this horrible thing that, like we're all don't want to be.
Like a headless obese body.
Exactly.
If you don't like take the stairs.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right.
But clearly the remedy is taking the stairs. And of course, some people can't take the stairs. So then those people are like doubly stigmatized. I'm supposed to take them and I can't take them. And now I'm going to end up as this like headless person, and it's awful.
Yeah, then why even bother?
Exactly.
Always take the elevator. I mean, so what kind of alternatives do we have to fear?
So I would say that empowering theories are very helpful in using in trying to change behavior. I think definitely taking a theoretical approach, using the theories that we know work, and that if you're going to use fear, it really needs to be so specific, and you need to explore how you're using it very carefully.
Yeah, so really getting down like the audience that you're targeting
Exactly.
and making sure that there is a remedy there. Otherwise, I guess it's a lost cause trying to reach these people.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, what people do with fear is they either try to discount it for themselves. So they'll say things like, you know, the smoking ads, they'll be like, well, my Uncle Joe lived to be 145 and he smoked every day and he's fine. So, you know, clearly it's not going to, genetically, I'm going to be fine. Or someone might say, find ways to distance themselves. Well, that person has blue hair and therefore, like, of course, blue-haired people, you know, more predisposed, and I have orange hair, and so therefore it's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, wow. I think I remember reading a study about using like humor. What do you think about that?
So humor's, it's funny because humor, I would say, is the opposite side of fear. Like, it has to be appropriate. But I know some of the campaign, so there's a truth campaign that they use, anti-smoking campaign for kids, or anti-tobacco, and they've been using kitten videos.
Oh,
And the idea is like, yes.
well, Cats for Public Health.
And those seem to be really successful. And the idea is actually like, you don't, like, kittens are affected by secondhand smoke as well. And so these cute little kittens that are like playing with footballs and rolling in bathtubs are like, you don't want to affect them either. And so that in that way, I think humor can work. But you have to be just as careful with humor as you do with fear.
Great. Thank you so much, Jane.
You're so welcome.